Joao Fonseca with a win that will always be remembered as his arrival to the big time. On tennis's grandest stage, at a major, against a top 10 player, in a big stadium. It's got all the ingredients. It is a huge moment in tennis and for Fonseca himself. 18 years old, turns 19 in August. He's 112 in the world. He's making his slam debut. He's never played a big stadium. And he beats number 9 seed Andrey Rublev in straight sets. And somehow, based on everything we've seen out of Fonseca in the last year or so, didn't feel super shocking. And on paper, this was a fascinating matchup and one that was filled with, I think, a good amount of mystery for me because Fonseca coming in, 13-match win streak, next-gen finals, Canberra Challenger, Australian Open qualies. And in the latter two events, the Challenger and the qualies, he doesn't lose a set. And all his matches are just dominant. But if you look at everybody he played over that stretch, 13-match win streak, he didn't play an Andrey Rublev, not even close. I don't think he even played a top 50 guy, other than the next-gen finals, in which case he did, in the fast four format, right? So, all right, you have a guy who's destroying everybody, but his only experience playing a top player was Matteo Berrettini last fall, indoor hardcourt, lost that match. I mean, you just didn't know what you were going to get here because Fonseca is untested in this situation against that kind of player in best of 5, all that good stuff. And I mean, it's best case scenario, obviously, for the young Brazilian. Let's get into the match a little bit. And part of it is going to be talking about the tactics, but then another part of this is just going to be talking about how impressed I am with Fonseca. And there's obviously plenty more coverage to come here and plenty more to talk about. But let's start here. It's something that I mentioned in the preview I thought was a danger for Rublev, and it really did come true. Andrey was overwhelmed by Fonseca's pace, which is tier 1, like A++ pace that he brings off of both wings and increasingly his serve. But if you look at Rublev and his strengths and weaknesses as a player, well, he's a baseline hugger. He doesn't give ground. So when the ball's coming really quickly, he doesn't buy himself time by moving back. And it makes him sometimes a sitting duck against these really, really big hitters. You look at a guy like, let's give some examples, the best pace absorbers in the world. So the cream of the crop, to me, are Medvedev, Zverev, and Djokovic. And yes, they all do things with their technique and their hands where they're good pace absorbers anyway. But another thing they're very good at is recognizing when the pace is about to come, and they might peel back and play a deeper position that makes the pace and sometimes even the depth less effective. And they're going to be able to absorb that linear power. Rublev struggles with that. Fonseca took advantage of that because he crushes the ball. And look, Andrey overall, he's not stellar defensively, right? He makes his money in neutral and attack. And Fonseca was really good at making Andrey defend way more than he wants to. And part of that is because of what Fonseca can create from neutral positions. From ordinarily neutral positions, his power makes it a green light position, like a position where he can do damage from, where most players would just have to trade and hang in. Fonseca can actually damage, right? And then when Fonseca was able to get in attack, his power made Andrey look really slow at times in this match. And what I really mean by that is there were times where Fonseca would step into the court and hit a winner or step into the court and force an error. I'm looking at where the ball lands, and it's 6 feet inside the side, or it's 5 feet inside the sideline, right? He's not even flirting with the lines, and he's able to produce a winner. He's able to produce a forced error. That usually means when you're seeing that on a tennis court, where a player is winning points with damage into the middle of the court, it means that player's power against the other player's defensive capabilities is a mismatch. And that's what we got in this. And the last thing I want to talk about just tactically between these two. Rublev's forehand is how he makes his money. It is world class. It's one of the best in the world. But if you shy away from it, or if you can't go into it with enough quality to not get hurt, you're at a disadvantage against Andrey. And Fonseca was able to go right at Rublev's forehand and get the benefit from it. First of all, it's not indestructible defensively. So you can draw errors when you rush Rublev's forehand, when you make him, when you stretch him out to the forehand. And just by kind of being afraid of that side of the court, you're not taking advantage of that opportunity to exploit the entire court when you're attacking. And Fonseca, I think, comes in with the mentality that I can attack into any part of the court. I'm not afraid of the forehand here. But there are also just benefits if you're able to go at that forehand and construct points that way and make that part of your patterns instead of constantly sort of shying away from that side. Obviously, first off, you create space into the backhand side of Rublev. And you know what? I don't think he hits his backhand on the run very well, Andrey. So if you can make him run to his backhand, I don't love his open stance backhand. I don't think he gets much on it generally. And then a lot of the time he hits a floating slice when he has to defend on his backhand. So he doesn't turn points around when you make him run to his backhand. The only way to make Rublev hit a running backhand is if you first go at the forehand. Make him run into the deuce side if you're going to make him run into the ad side, right? And then the other thing is deterring the runaround. Obviously, if you're just peppering the ad side of the court, Andrey's going to find some forehands from that side. And that is where his forehand is at its best. So if you make him hit forehands from the deuce side, running to his right, you're not going to be caught as often with Andrey getting forehands with his runaround footwork because you've moved him off that center line. Fonseca has the ability to go at Rublev's forehand, and he has the quality to do it without getting hurt. With his forehand, obviously he can go forehand to forehand in that cross-court pattern and not be outgunned in the firepower category, which is huge. But I thought Fonseca actually had even more success hitting the backhand down the line or hitting the off backhand, the kind of the backhand inside out from the middle of the court, going right at Rublev's forehand. You can do it off of both wings, which is really what I want to get at as I transition away from talking about the tactics here and just talking a little bit about how well Fonseca played, which was the biggest key here, more than anything. And it comes down to the completeness because, look, Fonseca's forehand is special and it deserves all the flowers that I've seen it get. It's a monster. It's a beast. It's all of those things. But there's so much more here operating at a high level, which is so crucial because good players are going to force Fonseca to beat them elsewhere. If you're a really good player, you're going to say, all right, this forehand, it's clearly the strength here. Beat me with something else. I'm going to make you beat me somewhere else. And Rublev tried that. Good players are going to try that. You look at the game that Fonseca broke Rublev's serve at love 1 in the second set. Joao didn't hit forehands in this game. This was the first break of the match. You can go back and watch it. He did not hit forehands. He came up with a lovely backhand drop shot winner. And then there were a few occasions. Okay, next point, love 15. They were in a backhand exchange. Fonseca was able to do damage, changing backhand down the line. And then he finished the next one with a backhand cross-court winner. Then on the next point, it's love 30. Rublev has a forehand, a neutral forehand that he'd normally rip cross-court. Instead, he tries to sort of guide it towards Fonseca's backhand because he's fearful of the forehand, I presume. And Fonseca steps in, hits the off backhand down the line to kind of build. Rublev's able to play another ball from a defensive position Find the backhand again, but it's short and it's weak. And no problem for Fonseca. He steps in, backhand down the line, winner. So 3 backhand winners to go up love 40. Rublev double faults. That's the first break. What about the third set tiebreak? It's 5-all in the third set tiebreak. They're in a backhand rally, and Fonseca laces a 10 out of 10 backhand down the line winner. The backhand is making hay for the Brazilian consistently, and that is so important. So as much love as the forehand deserves and it's going to get, it is absolutely crucial that a player cannot find relief by basically getting it away from that forehand. The other thing, Fonseca has become a server. He is a server, which I did not see coming when I watched him at the beginning of last year. And this is something that you can certainly take advantage of when you're playing Andrey Rublev. Andrey struggles for returns in play against big serving. And the data last year fleshes that out. Rublev was 121st out of 128 qualified players in first serve return percentage in. He was one of the easiest guys on tour to hit unreturnables against. There was a point at the end of the first set, Fonseca hit 6 unreturned serves on 7 service points. That was from 15-all at 5-6. So Joao serving to force the tiebreak, 15-all at 5-6 through the end of the tiebreak. He stepped to the line 7 times and hit 6 unreturned serves. What's going to make Fonseca elite is his attacking. So it's so crucial that he has a serve that's going to set up attacking. And what was really big time in this match is he did it on the second serve as well, where his speeds are really good and he goes after it. He's got a good kick serve, but also on the speed gun, he can go after his second serve and earn attackable +1 balls even when he misses the first. That's really, really big. And let's also give it up for Fonseca's clutchness because he played 2 great tie breaks. This is his first time playing a big stadium. It's his Slam main draw debut. Let's not lose sight of the fact that in crunch time, he looked very comfortable. First set tiebreak, he averaged 87 miles per hour on the forehand and didn't make an error. Come on now. I want to run through a couple of little things that I also sort of found new appreciation of in watching Fonseca because we're still at the early stages of watching him. You know, I've watched him for, I don't know how many hours, but probably at this point, less than 20 hours. So I'm still learning about his game. His kick serve, first of all, wow. I think he's, with the improved strength and the added muscle that he has in the serve, I've seen the kick serve blossoming into something that is going to be, first of all, filthy on clay. And it's so effective that I actually like it as a changeup on the first serve, particularly on the ad side, high into the righty backhand. He had some really good moments with his defensive slice backhand. That's a really nice shot to have at your disposal. Fonseca could neutralize with that. I really liked how well he was moving in and out of the court. So I kind of started this analysis by talking about Rublev, how he's kind of plastered to the baseline and he doesn't give up ground. Well, I saw many times in this match, Fonseca was willing to give up some ground, buy himself some time, use his power, even from defensive positions, to turn points around and then to get inside the baseline. That's called moving in and out of the court. And I thought Fonseca did a really good job of moving in and out of the court. The other thing I want to mention, this is huge. I could have led with this because this was a huge takeaway from me. The forehand power that Fonseca possesses is translating to the return of serve. And you might say, duh, it's obvious. Of course it does. That's not always the case, folks. Think about Dominic Thiem. He's got a big forehand. You didn't see that on the first serve return. You just didn't. He, and obviously Thiem returned from a lot deeper than Fonseca returns, which is part of it. But when Dominic had to abbreviate the forehand as much as he did on the return, and boys, I mean, sometimes he'd even chip it because he'd have to. But when he abbreviated, he didn't have access to the power, right? He needed time to access the power. And there are a lot of forehands where I think you could, like Casper Ruud. Ruud's maybe on a second serve return, if you hit a first serve at Casper's forehand, the power is a non-factor. Even though in a rally, when he has time, he's got a huge forehand. Fonseca is showing an ability to use the power on the forehand return. He is taking the ball early, shortening the takeback, and the ball is still coming off of his strings with a ton of speed. The 2 mini breaks in the first set tiebreak came off of huge forehand returns. One of them was a winner. One of them was at Rublev's feet that set up Fonseca to crush the next ball, which was the first point of the tiebreak. Down 3-1 in the third. He's down a break in the third. It's deuce, Rublev serving. Fonseca obliterated a forehand return, cross court for a winner. Set up the break point, got him back in the third set. And then he got Rublev to throw in some double faults that just looked fearful. Like some of them were wide. And to me, when a pro is double faulting wide, they are probably going for more than they want to be going for because the opponent has made them sort of think twice about rolling it into the middle of the box. So that's my last point. I also want to shout out the crowd. Fonseca, one of the things that genuinely excites me about Fonseca's emergence is the vocal nature of the Brazilian crowds that seem to kind of almost be everywhere. And I think it enhances the viewing experience in a big way. And I also think for non-Brazilians, like for everybody, it makes Fonseca come across as a big star already. And look, if he were, I don't know, for example, let's use my own country so that I don't offend anybody. If he were American, people would not care yet. Like, he would not have this kind of support or this kind of hype. People would not care about him. I mean, diehard tennis fans would be talking about him, but he wouldn't go to the Australian Open and have the kind of support that Fonseca gets. And that really excites me about Joao. I want to end on Rublev real quick. I don't have much to say about this performance, to be honest, but I do want to talk about some of the noise, not noise, but like some of the storylines that have sort of surrounded Rublev as he comes into this season real quick. An article in The Guardian came out, and it's in The Draw, which is my weekly newsletter. Go to thedraw.tennis to subscribe. Link is also in the description. It's my curation of the best tennis content on the internet every week. So it works out that I get to plug it, but I would have actually brought it up anyway because I do want to talk about this. Rublev has talked about, and this article is in this week's edition of The Draw. Rublev talks about how he was in a dark place last year. He was, he hit rock bottom. He was medicating, and he's doing a lot better now mentally. So that was really good to read, first of all. And it gives me and, I think any Rublev fan a lot of hope that hopefully things can be better, not just for his tennis, but also just for him and his own health, his own enjoyment of this game, and his own kind of also on-court conduct can hopefully be improved with some of the work that he's done. Some of the work that Marat Safin has actually helped him do, which is something that I didn't expect to read. What did it look like on the court here? We saw some meditation. We didn't see as short a fuse as we saw throughout most of last year. Did he get upset after missing an easy forehand in the third set tiebreak? Yeah, he did. I don't think that's a big deal, right? I don't think he needs to become like Mr. Zen. And when he tried that after the Dubai thing, it did not work well. But just to have a level of composure that is, I don't know, kind of reasonable. And if he doesn't go dark on himself as easily, as quickly, as often, those things would all be really, really great to see. So I just wanted to say that about Rublev. Big picture thoughts on Fonseca's career. I'm saving it for the mailbag. Watch the mailbag, tune into the mailbag. I've got a lot more to say about Fonseca, but for this video, we'll just keep it to this match. in which case I've said everything I want to say. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.